All right. The conversation continues. Now, before the break, we learned about PWDs, basically. That's people living with disabilities and the different disabilities. And we learned that disabilities do not always have to be a physical one. It can't always be a physical defect all the time. Sometimes there are things that you cannot see. Now, following the signing into law of the Discrimination Act against persons living with disability in January 2019, remember that the president also signed it, and so far, we talked about the improvements so far, and Tunji has said that unfortunately we cannot record a lot of progress with this regard. Now we have a special guest. I told you before the break. We have someone in the studio with us. His name is Trust Inonse. He's a person living with disability. Welcome to the studio, Trust. Good evening.
Hi, good evening, Michelle.
It's a pleasure to have you join the conversation today. Now, with what you've been hearing so far about the office space and creating access and inclusion, how do you think an organization can best create an enabling environment for persons with disability?
A lot of ways, right? Talking from infrastructural setup, which is when we're talking about infrastructure, we're not even just talking about the environment. We're also talking about tools for work. So for example, we talk about laptops. We talk about even how you walk around. Like, so for instance, people with disabilities, when you use your systems to work, you need some gadgets to help you maximize your output. For example, screen readers, braille displays, all of these things. But the sad part is, as much as the office realized that, maybe we need to get pen and paper and get computers, typewriter, whatever it is for people who work, they never realize that, okay, if I also want to employ someone who is disabled, I probably will need to get braille displays. I probably will need to have some aids to help ramps in my environment so that people who uses the wheelchair can work and all of those stuff. So it must be said that it is really difficult for people to get these things on their own because they are ridiculously expensive. So we think that in the work environment, instead of totally concluding that, he won't be able to work because you use computers, how about you choose a plan that you can help him get this software? Some softwares run over 200,000, 300,000, even a million, even hardwares. So if you're saying that everyone who is disabled to get these softwares on their own before they come to work in your institution, you're indirectly saying that people with disabilities shouldn't come work. So the best thing for you as an individual is to judge the person on his ability to work, intellectual ability, and definitely try to provide these equipments and make the work environments friendly for these individuals. And I think just to,
Thank you. That's very insightful, Trust. Now let's talk about the workforce or the work environment the work environment so far in Nigeria, the job market. Do you think that more people living with disability are included in the job market today? Do you think HR professionals are being intentional about employing people or persons with disability? Did you experience any? Oh, hell no, you said. No. Wow. Yes. That's a hard no, Trust.
Hell no.
Okay, so, wow. So, what has been your experience?
So because of who Trust is as an individual who always strive to improve himself and all of this good stuff that everyone knows about Trust, my experience wasn't terrible. It wasn't even bad because it was easy. Of course, I work in media, so it was easy for me to just walk to the HR and say, okay, you know what, I can do this, and prove myself and that I can do it. And thank God for God, I was given the opportunity to do it at the end of the day, and I did it awesome. Do you understand? But there are people who, and lots of institutions that before you even walk through the door, you are not even, okay, let me share this experience, right? So before I started working with Lagos Stocks, right, I went to an ad agency. And guess what? They didn't even let me sit in their reception.
Wow.
Yeah, like, I don't want to call names, but they didn't even let me sit in their reception. And they made like, you can't work here. I'm like, me, Trust, you know, I can't work in an ad agency. Are you joking? But I was 100% sure that I could work there, but the HR personnel felt I couldn't, just because I'm blind, right? So I walked out, and of course, here I am. I'm 100% sure if I go there now, they can't say that Trust can't work here. Do you understand? So first, give the opportunity to these individuals to prove themselves, and that is crucial. But even at the same time, when I talk of, give the opportunity, I also speak to people with disabilities to also try improving themselves so that they can also work. But there are even some HR personnel who don't even know how to even ensure that people with disabilities, even with the bill. And I was actually speaking with Tolu and Tunji downstairs, and I was saying that I think the bill or the act, is one useless act. So, yeah.
It's not really as effective as it should
at
be.
At all. It's not close to being as effective. And if lots of people don't even know that the act exists, loads of people, I speak to HR personnel, they don't even know that such act exists.
I would like to learn what CIPM is doing about this, because he keeps hammering on HR professionals. HR professionals, hell no. They told me not to enter. I couldn't walk through the door. So it shows that there's a huge barrier or knowledge gap or complete sheer ignorance of some HR professionals to understand the importance of employing persons with disability. So I'll come to you now, Tunji. How can we address the bias against persons with disability in organizations and the society at large today?
So first off, I can identify with the way trust feels, and I realize that there's quite a number of people also out there living with disability that feel the same way. But I would say there's a silver lining in the clouds. So myself and Tolu, as an example, we work for multinational. Yet we've spared time today to come and have this conversation, just to inspire some people out there, to let them know that for as long as you believe in your true worth, there would always be someone out there trying to patronize you and pay for the value that you're willing to offer. That's just to make that clear there. But beyond that, I think aside from she and I having that personal conviction to help in this space, we also have quite a number of multinationals that have decided to take on the charge and lead the way. So there's a group called NGBDN. It's a disability network. It was put together by CIPM and an NGO called Site Saver. This group has, as of now, we have about 15 high-profile multinationals. I won't mention the names now, but high-profile multinationals as we speak now. And in that committee, we also have representatives from of people with disability, anchoring that meeting. The whole purpose there is to continue to drive home this inclusivity for people with disability. And I tell you from in my work environment, as an example, inclusion of people with disability is one key pillar in our diversity pillar. So we're focusing on 4 things, and one of the 4 things is about bringing on board people with disability. And I believe everybody else that is in that committee is doing that. So what are we doing to make that happen? I think Tolu mentioned a bit earlier on, first thing is education. Educate the staff within so that they are more sensitive to issues around people with disability. Second is we also need to understand people with disability and their conditions and change perspectives. Because when you're able to do that, you then realize that there are things that you need to put to do that would enable them to come on board. It may not be as complex as Trust has put it, right? Because indeed, for an employer to bring you on board, they give you work tool, whether you're living with disability or not, and those work tools are expensive. So some of the work tools are actually there, and a lot of those work tools have the functionality to support people with disability. But beyond that, our work environment also needs to be properly designed to make it easy for access for people with disability. So someone with visual impairment, for instance, will need a proper access in the wide area, and we need to have some audio kind of signage to make sure it's more conducive for them. It's quite interesting. One of the things that we did recently was to bring in an NGO to come and do an audit in our work environment. And when we're going through all the facilities, one thing dawned on me, that if there was an emergency, we have an emergency evacuation process. But that emergency evacuation process is focused mainly on people that can hear, right? So what if we bring on board someone that is suffering with hearing impairment? So it means all we just need to do is tweak that to ensure that there is a system that also supports. So key thing is how we change our perception. Number one, people with living with disability are not a charity case. They have their own unique capabilities that some of us don't even have, right? So it's not a charity case. And number two, we may see some physical people with living with disability and identify them easily because of their physical disability. But some of us are also going through other forms of disability. So it's like an all-encompassing ideology to make sure that we create an enabling environment for all, right? To thrive. So key thing there is how we change our orientation and how we address issues around people with disability.
All right. You've been listening to The Office on Lagos Talks 91.3. My guest today, Tolu Osisi. She is the Talent Engagement Manager at Guinness Nigeria PLC. We also had Tunji Solanke. You just heard from him now. He's the Talent OE and Inclusion Manager for West and Central Africa area of British American Tobacco. And of course, my extremely special guest in the studio today, Trust Inonse, Community Manager for Lagos Talks 91.3. Thank you so much for coming in today. I wish I could take calls, but we have run out of time, unfortunately. But let's see if we can squeeze in one call before we wrap it up. You can call the phone lines if you have a question or a contribution. You can call 01-515-0913, 01-515-1913. Send us a tweet on Twitter at Lagos Talks 913 or call 0809 234 5913 0809 191 3913. Now, before I let you go, Tolu, do you have any last words for us?
Yes, I do. It's just to encourage organizations, like I said before, let's be more aware, and sensitization is very important in ensuring that people learn more about persons living with disabilities. And I'll give you a typical example. At Guinness Nigeria, for example, we have successfully carried out, a few sensitization trainings for our employees, just so that they are aware that, there are people with disabilities and these people are humans like us. And our organization strives continuously to ensure that we remain as an inclusive organization.
All right. Thank you so much for coming in today. We appreciate you. We'll be back next week every Thursday, as you know, from 4:30 p.m. to 5 p.m. only on Lagos Talks 91.3. Remember that The Office is specially packaged by Lagos Talks 91.3 in partnership with CIPM. That's the Chartered Institute of Personal Management Nigeria. Have a beautiful evening. Coming up next is Critical Thinking. Stay with us.
We are Lagos Talks 91.3.
Let's